Hi, I'm Allison Rose with FlickDirect. Hello, how are you? Nice to speak with you today.
Hi, Allison. How are you?
I am doing very well, thanks. Let's talk about Diana because she's got a Hispanic heritage, but she is a strong American woman, and she's being thrown into a situation where she's not necessarily comfortable right away in the beginning. So, how did you approach that?
Yeah, I think I fortunately feel like I resonated a lot with Diana, to certain degrees. I mean,
Hmm.
she's much braver, stronger, I think, than I am in real life. But with that, I just kind of looked to my grandparents, my parents, to the women that have
Hmm.
raised me. Um, and so, also just taking into account like the historical context, women in the 70s, Latinos in the 70s, and like the
Mhm.
disenfranchisement that they had to deal with at the time. All of these things I just kind of like took into consideration, and then at the end of it just really wanted to craft a character that I felt, um, at least for myself, was true to Latinas that I knew at that time. And in so many ways, I feel like the people who suffer like the most adversity, that have to deal with the most struggle, or um, that there's a lot of disadvantages that you have to kind of endure. They
Hmm.
are the happiest, the strongest, the bravest people that I know. So yeah, I mean, for Diana's character, the fact that she's Chicana, I myself am Chicana. There's this confrontation with your identity, and
Yeah.
being um, kind of existing within these like two worlds of like the American and Mexican culture, and how that like molds who you are. We're all very close to home. For I think the hardest thing that I had to really do as much work on, and I leaned on a lot of my friends and family members, was this concept of pregnancy and motherhood. Like, I myself don't have any kids, but I respect and like love and value and like understand as best as I can the the overwhelming reality, like both physically and mentally, of being a first time mom, of being pregnant, and the kind of how that mentally just becomes a driving force for you with all the choices that you make. Yeah, and it was super insightful. So I think psychologically, I tried to blend all these components that I had either done research for, that I had like looked and wanted to like enhance or dial down,
Yeah.
and played with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Pregnancy and motherhood, I will tell you, can be a horror movie in and of itself. So,
Girl, you don't have to tell me. Oh my gosh. These
the payout at the end, though, all worth it.
That's what they say. That's what they say. But yeah,
But,
what's crazy is when I was like looking on online, like on interviews, or just like any videos of mothers, first time moms, people that were pregnant, it was so glamorized. I was just like, this can't be real. Like, it can't just be this easy where they're just like, it was hard, but like I love them. And when you talk to actual women that have to really disclose some of the most challenging and like uncomfortable parts of being a mom, or not thinking that you can be a mom, or
yeah.
at a certain point, you know feeling like you've compromised or sacrificed more than you thought you needed to, and aren't sure of like how you feel. I mean, postpartum depression is real, and I took all these things into account when I was considering, like, as a mom. Obviously, the goal is to try to be the best mom that you can, but the reality is sometimes you don't want to be a mom. Sometimes you hate your child. Sometimes you hate the pregnancy. And that doesn't make you a bad person.
No.
It just is the experience that women have to endure. That's our
Yeah.
superpower.
Yeah, yes, and there is no manual for for motherhood. So and they try, but no, until you experience it. Um, I found the movie very interesting, particularly when you get to the end, which we don't really want to give away. But how
Mhm.
much were you aware of what was going on during that time to those individuals?
Yeah, I mean, that particular case, I wasn't familiar with, to be honest, but I'm from a border town. We have a detention center. Like, these concepts of like farm workers being exploited, Latinas being exploited, Latinos. I mean, that's not, it's not far fetched when you come to learn the realities that happened for women at that time. And if we're being honest, that continue to happen. I know, like when we were shooting, there was an incident in Georgia that was very similar, and I mean, it is what it is, and you do the best you can. You fight the good fight, and I think the story does a really good job of starting the conversation and shedding light on something that I think is really important.
I wholeheartedly agree with you on that, because like I told Marcelo and Mario, I said I was so surprised at the ending, and it stuck with me, and I hope it creates a dialogue, because I think
absolutely
we need that. One thing that I loved about it was that they took this kind of real life monster, in a sense, and made it into a horror movie. So when you first read this script, were you shocked, surprised? Was there something about it that made you say, oh, I have to play this role?
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling as many people who ask, but like this script, when I first read it, made me feel like it was the Mexican version of Get Out. It was so scary.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think the components that are scariest in this horror film are the ones that are very plausible, that are like inspired by true events. Like that, to me, I think is what makes it most terrifying. So when I read it, I mean, I've grown to love horror films, and this particular style, which is kind of like the new wave that I think we're experiencing, that it doesn't have to be this like far-fetched, like different world of supernatural. I mean, there's components of that, obviously, but it is very much grounded in this like reality that can exist. So I was super drawn to the blend. And to be honest, I think that might have been the only way to have made a story that heavy digestible, when you layer this component of horror on top.
Just had the same conversation with them as well. So, yeah. And I agree with you. When I was watching it in the beginning, I'm like, this is kind of like a Get Out feel to it, which is going to appeal to mass audiences. And yet at the same time, it's going to bring something to light that, like you said, if it had been a straight up drama, it would have been really heavy, heavy to do.
Totally.
I think they did such a great job. Tell me a little bit about Diana's journey throughout the movie, because I feel like, she gets there, she's happy, but she's fish out of water. And as she learns more, she evolves, I feel.
Absolutely. I mean, I think for women, for Latinos, there's a point, I think, in your life, if you decide to be a mom or to confront your self of identity of self. That's what I was thinking of. But and those two themes really do play in this film, because as a first-time mom, like, your whole world is rocked. And on top of that, we have to remember that Diana is not only a first-time mom, but she was fired from her job because she was a mother, which is, that's the first horror. That's like the first scary thing that happens, where this entire persona, this like identity that she used to hold on to very strongly about being an educated Latina in the 70s is slowly kind of just like deteriorating. It's like, it's something that when you make the decision to start a family, you do have to confront, as well as this other layer of an identity crisis or confrontation between being a Chicana who is both inspired or influenced by American and Mexican culture, and knowing like where you assimilate and the things that you want to continue to preserve. And that fluctuates, right? I mean, like both as a working woman, as someone who identifies as Latino, like you can feel more or less of the other things. But I feel like in this journey for Diana, it's so interesting to just watch kind of where she starts and then at the end, this new evolution and like phase of her life that she's in.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you for your time today and for talking about the film. It's phenomenal. And like I said, I hope it starts a dialogue that should really be out there. And Diana is such a great character, and you did a wonderful job playing her. So thank you.
Thank you.